The deep space research vessel Horizon drifted through the eternal night, its sensors probing the darkness between stars. Commander Elena Chen stood at the bridge's observation window, her reflection ghosting against the backdrop of distant starlight. The ship's mission was routine: catalog unexplored systems in humanity's expanding sphere of influence. But routine changed the moment their quantum arrays detected something extraordinary. "Commander," called Dr. James Harrison, the ship's lead synorchaeologist, "you need to see this." His usually steady hands trembled as he manipulated the holographic display. "We're picking up coherent quantum signals. They're incredibly complex, unlike anything in our database." Elena moved to his station, studying the cascading patterns of data. After 15 years of space exploration, she learned to trust her instincts. These signals weren't random space phenomena. They carried purpose, intent. "Source: a system about 3 light-years out," James replied. "The signal's old, Commander. Based on decay patterns, it's been repeating for at least 5,000 years." Elena's mind raced with possibilities. Humanity had encountered other civilizations, since achieving faster-than-light travel 30 years ago, but most were young races like themselves. A signal this old could only come from one of the legendary elder species. Plot a course. Maximum safe speed. The Horizon's quantum drives hummed to life, folding space around the ship. 3 days later, they emerged in a system dominated by an ancient red giant star. Their sensors immediately detected a planet, once surely beautiful, now a scared wasteland under its dying sun. "Life signs?" Elena asked, though she expected none after millennia of exposure to the red giant's radiation. "Yes," exclaimed their sensor officer, Lieutenant Sarah Pottle. "But they're impossible. Quantum readings suggest a civilization in suspended animation, buried deep beneath the surface. Millions of them." Before Elena could respond, the ship's quantum communications array activated. A hologram materialized on the bridge. A tall, ethereal being with crystalline features and eyes that seemed to hold galaxies. Its form flickered with age, a message preserved across thousands of years. "To those who hear our call," the being spoke, its words automatically translated, "we are the Aetheri. Once, we were among the brightest lights of this galaxy. We developed technology to preserve ourselves when our star began to die, but we could not save our world. Our greatest minds calculated that in approximately 5,327 years, our sun will collapse completely. We placed our people in quantum stasis, hoping that by then, someone would answer our call." The hologram's eyes seemed to pierce Elena's soul. "The great houses of the galaxy rejected us. They said our civilization was too primitive, that our achievements in quantum consciousness were meaningless compared to their mastery of physical space. They left us to die rather than risk empowering what they feared might become rivals." Elena felt her crew's eyes on her. In that moment, she knew they all shared the same thought. The signal's age meant the Aetheri's calculated deadline was approaching, perhaps merely months away. They had slept for millennia, preserved by their quantum technology, waiting for someone, anyone, to answer their plea. "Commander," James said softly, "preliminary scans confirm their story. The quantum stasis technology is incredible. They've essentially frozen their consciousness outside of normal spacetime. But their star—" He paused, checking readings again. "It's entering its final phase. We have 8 months at most before total collapse." Elena straightened her uniform, a gesture that her crew knew meant she'd made a decision. "Open a channel to Earth Command. Priority 1. The response came within hours. Humanity's leadership had deliberated and reached a unanimous decision. The message was brief: "Save them." Elena recorded her response to the ancient Aetheri message, knowing it would echo through their quantum stasis systems. "This is Commander Elena Chen of the Earth vessel Horizon. On behalf of humanity, we accept your call. We will not abandon you to the dark." As she spoke these words, Elena knew they were committing to something unprecedented. They would need to evacuate millions of beings in suspended animation before their star died. They would likely face opposition from the same advanced civilizations that had abandoned the Aetheri millennia ago. But looking at her crew's determined faces, she saw no doubt, only resolve. The Aetheri had waited 5,000 years in the dark for someone to answer their call. They had found not just anyone, but humanity, a species that knew what it meant to reach for the stars despite being told they weren't ready, weren't worthy. Now, they would show the galaxy that true civilization wasn't measured by the age of your technology, but by the strength of your compassion. Elena gave the order to begin preliminary evacuation planning. As the Horizon's crew sprang into action, she looked out at the dying red giant. Humanity's greatest rescue mission was about to begin, and with it, perhaps a fundamental change in how the galaxy's civilizations viewed each other. The Aetheri had preserved themselves through quantum consciousness. Humanity would preserve them through sheer determination. The Galactic Council's emergency chamber buzzed with tension as Commander Elena Chen stood before the assembled representatives. Massive holograms of the most powerful species in the galaxy loomed above her, their expressions ranging from concern to outright hostility. The chamber itself, a vast space station at the galaxy's political center, seemed to pulse with unspoken accusations. "You have no comprehension of what you're meddling with," declared High Chancellor Vexthor of the Meridian Collective, his crystalline form shifting colors with agitation. The Aetheri were quarantined for a reason. Elena maintained her composure, though her hands clenched behind her back. Quarantined, they were abandoned to die. Millions of sentient beings left in stasis while their star dies. How is that justice? Justice. A new voice cut through the chamber. Archon Zanara of the Stellar Ascendancy rose from her seat, her energy form crackling. "Your species is barely a century into FTL travel. You cannot grasp the complexities of galactic stability. The Aetheri are too dangerous to be preserved." Dangerous. Elena's voice carried clear disbelief. "They're in stasis, their civilization preserved through quantum consciousness technology. How could they possibly?" "That technology," interrupted Vexthor, "is precisely what concerns us. The Aetheri didn't just develop quantum computing or communication. They learned to project their consciousness into the quantum realm itself. Every Aetheri is potentially a quantum intelligence capable of interfacing directly with the fundamental fabric of space-time." Understanding dawned on Elena. "You're afraid of them. Not because they're primitive, but because their development took a different path than yours. They mastered the mind while you mastered matter. Their abilities are unpredictable," Zanara stated. "They could potentially access any quantum system, influence any computer network. The risk to galactic infrastructure. The risk." Elena's patience finally broke. "The risk is letting fear dictate who deserves to live and who deserves to die. Humanity remembers its own history, how fear of the different led to our greatest atrocities. We won't stand by and watch it happen on a galactic scale." The chamber erupted in argument. Some council members demanded sanctions against Earth, while others called for military intervention to stop the rescue mission. Through it all, Elena noticed one figure remaining silent: the ancient ambassador Cronus of the Arbiters, oldest of the galactic species. Finally, Cronus spoke, his voice cutting through the chaos. "Commander Chen, do you understand that by pursuing this course, humanity risks everything? The technological privileges, the trade agreements, the protection treaties, all could be revoked." Elena straightened her spine. "With respect, Ambassador, we understand perfectly. Earth has already voted, unanimously. We would rather be right than comfortable." "Then hear the Council's decision," Vexthor declared. "Earth is hereby ordered to cease all contact with the Aetheri. Failure to comply will result in immediate sanctions and potential military response." Elena's response was measured but firm. "Noted, but you should understand something as well." She activated a hologram showing the Horizon's initial contact with the Aetheri stasis systems. "While you've been debating, we've already begun. The first, Etheric quantum matrices have been connected to our systems. They're teaching us, and we're learning, not just about quantum consciousness, but about courage across 5,000 years of darkness. You dare? Zenara's form flared with anger. We dare, Elena replied. Because that's what humanity does. We dare to be better than our fears. She turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. The Etheri's quantum abilities. They've already enhanced our ship systems beyond anything we thought possible. You're not just facing a primitive human fleet anymore. You're facing humanity and the Etheri working together. I suggest you consider that before taking military action. As Elena's hologram faded from the chamber, silence fell over the council. Ambassador Kronos' ancient eyes held a glimmer of something that might have been approval, or perhaps fear, because for the first time in millennia, the established order of the galaxy faced something they couldn't control. Humanity's stubborn insistence on doing what was right, combined with the Etheri's quantum mastery. Back on the horizon, Elena received the Council's official censure with grim determination. The ship's quantum communications array, already enhanced by Etheri consciousness technology, hummed with activity as they coordinated with Earth's growing evacuation fleet. They had 8 months to save millions of quantum-preserved beings while facing opposition from the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. But as she watched her crew working alongside the first awakened Etheri, their consciousness shifting seamlessly between physical and quantum states to enhance the ship's capabilities, Elena felt a surge of hope. Together, they would prove that the galaxy's future belonged not to those who hoarded power, but to those who dared to share it. In the Horizon's quantum lab, Dr. James Harrison watched in awe as an Etheri consciousness danced through their computer systems. Zaira, one of the first awakened from stasis, existed simultaneously as a physical being and a quantum presence, her consciousness flowing through the ship's systems like water through sand. Your quantum processors are interesting, Zaira communicated, her physical form a shimmer of translucent energy, while her consciousness explored. Primitive in some ways, yet elegant in others. You achieve so much without direct quantum integration. That's humanity for you, James replied, monitoring the interface readings. We're good at finding unconventional solutions. He paused, noting a surge in the quantum field. What was that? I just improved your processing efficiency by 4,000%, Zaira answered. Your systems were thinking in linear paths. I showed them how to think in quantum superposition. Lieutenant Sarah Patel burst into the lab, her dark eyes bright with excitement. Commander Chen needs you both in engineering. The Stellar Ascendancy fleet just dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. We need those quantum shields operational now. In engineering, Elena stood before a holographic display of the system. 5 Ascendancy warships approached in attack formation, their energy signatures dwarfing the horizons. But Elena's focus was on something else. The massive evacuation carriers under construction in Earth's shipyards, designed to house millions of quantum stasis pods. How long? She asked as James and Zira entered. The carriers will be ready in 2 months, James reported. But that's cutting it close. The star's deterioration is accelerating, and the Ascendancy won't wait 2 months, Sarah added. Their weapons can tear through our conventional shields in seconds. Zaira's form shifted, her consciousness partially merging with the ship's systems. Perhaps we don't need conventional shields. Her physical eyes met Elena's. Commander, we Etheri preserved ourselves by learning to exist between states, neither fully physical nor fully quantum. What if we applied that principle to your defenses? Understanding dawned on James's face. A quantum state shield, existing in multiple states simultaneously, making it impossible to target. Exactly, Zaira's consciousness pulsed through the ship's systems. But we'd need to combine our quantum consciousness technology with your energy projection systems, something never done before. Elena straightened. Then we'll be the first. How many awakened Etheri would you need? At least 100, Zaira calculated, and it would be dangerous. linking so many consciousnesses to your systems. There's no precedent. There's no precedent for any of this, Elena replied. Wake them. Humanity will handle the engineering. Your people handle the quantum integration. The next week passed in a blur of activity. The Horizon's engineering bay became a fusion of human and etheric innovation. Human engineers worked alongside quantum consciousness projections, building something that broke the known laws of physics. They weren't just creating a shield. They were building a bridge between two fundamentally different approaches to understanding the universe. The Ascendancy fleet drew closer, their weapons charging. Admiral Zanara's voice crackled through their quantum comm. This is your final warning. Withdraw from the Aetheri system, or face immediate destruction. Elena stood on her bridge, watching the enemy ships approach. Around her, 100 etheric consciousnesses flowed through the Horizon's systems, their quantum presence transforming the ship into something never seen before. The walls seemed to shimmer as reality itself bent around them. All hands, battle stations, Elena commanded. Zira, are we ready? The Aetheri's consciousness resonated through the ship's speakers. The quantum state shield is operational, but untested. Commander, thank you. Win or lose, you've given us something we lost 5,000 years ago. Hope. Save the thanks for when we've saved your people, Elena replied. Then, to her crew, all power to the quantum shields. Let's show the galaxy what happens when humanity and the Aetheri work together. The Ascendancy ships opened fire, their energy weapons capable of destroying small moons. But where their beams struck the horizon, reality itself seemed to flutter. The ship existed in multiple quantum states simultaneously, the attacks passing through space where the ship both was and wasn't. It's working, James shouted from his station. The shields are holding. They can't get a lock on our actual position in space-time. Elena allowed herself a small smile. Signal the Earth fleet. Tell them to begin Phase 2 of the evacuation, and send a message to the Galactic Council. The Aetheri aren't just going to survive. They're going to thrive. And humanity will stand with them. As the Horizon's new defenses held against the galaxy's most powerful weapons, Elena realized they'd done more than create a new technology. They'd proven that the path forward wasn't through fear and isolation, but through cooperation and trust. The quantum state shield was just the beginning. Humanity and the Aetheri together would reshape the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. Above them, the dying red giant pulsed ominously, a constant reminder of their deadline. But now they had a chance. Now they had hope. And in Elena's experience, that was all humanity ever needed to accomplish the impossible. The red giant's surface churned with apocalyptic fury, its death throes sending waves of radiation across the system. In the Horizon's command center, Elena studied the holographic displays with growing concern. The star was dying faster than predicted. We've got 3 weeks at most, Dr. James Harrison reported grimly. The stellar core is collapsing at an accelerated rate. He gestured to the streams of data flowing through the quantum-enhanced displays. Once it starts, we'll have minutes, not hours. Lieutenant Sarah Patel's voice cut through the tension. Evacuation update. 40% of the Aetheri stasis pods transferred to the carriers. Earth's fleet is pushing their engines to the limit. But she didn't need to finish. They all knew the math. Commander, Zira materialized beside them, her quantum consciousness simultaneously monitoring ships across the system. The Meridian Collective has joined the Stellar Ascendancy. 15 more warships just entered the system. Elena's jaw tightened. The quantum state shields were holding, but powering them required enormous energy and constant concentration from the Aetheri consciousness pilots. They couldn't protect every evacuation ship forever. We need to buy more time, she declared. Zira, you said the Aetheri could interface with any quantum system. Could you influence the star itself? The question hung in the air like a physical weight. Zira's form flickered with uncertainty. Theoretically, stars operate on quantum principles at their cores. but attempting to stabilize a dying star. The energy requirements would be, "We can handle the energy," James interrupted, his eyes lighting up with sudden inspiration. "The quantum shields don't just defend. They store quantum potential. If we redirected that energy, it would mean dropping our defenses," Sarah warned. "The combined ascendancy and collective fleet would tear us apart." Elena stood, her decision made. "Then we make sure they're not here. Lieutenant Patel, send word to Earth. We need every ship we can get. Dr. Harrison, work with Zura to modify the shield systems. We're going to show the galaxy why you don't underestimate humanity or the Aetheri." The next 72 hours passed in a blur of preparation. Earth's response was immediate and overwhelming. Hundreds of ships jumped into the system, not just military vessels, but civilian craft, mining ships, even private yachts. Anyone who could help with the evacuation or defense. The Aetheri contribution was equally dramatic. Those awakened from stasis linked their consciousness into vast networks, enhancing every ship in the human fleet. Quantum state shields flickered to life across vessels that shouldn't have been able to support them. The infamous human talent for improvisation merged with Aetheri quantum mastery, creating a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen. "Enemy fleet approaching," Sarah announced. "They're launching fighters." Elena's voice carried across the quantum communication network to every ship in the human Aetheri fleet. "All vessels, battle formation Delta. Remember, we're not trying to destroy them. We just need to hold them back long enough to complete the evacuation and stabilize the star." The space around the dying sun erupted in combat. The advanced civilizations brought overwhelming firepower and millennia of military tradition. The human Aetheri alliance countered with impossible maneuvers, ships phasing between quantum states, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. In the Horizon's engineering bay, James and Zara led a team of humans and Aetheri in their desperate attempt to save the star. The quantum shield network transformed into something new, a vast web of consciousness and energy reaching into the heart of the dying giant. Quantum coherence established, Zyra announced, her consciousness spread across a dozen systems, beginning stellar core stabilization. The strain was immediate and devastating. Aetheri consciousness pilots across the fleet cried out as the star's immense quantum forces threatened to overwhelm them. Human engineers pushed their systems far beyond safety limits, trying to channel enough energy to make a difference. "It's not enough," James shouted over the sound of overloading systems. "We need more power." Elena watched the battle raging outside, saw her people fighting and dying to protect the evacuation. Then she saw something else, the Arbiter's flagship, holding position at the edge of the system. Ambassador Kronos' ancient species had refused to take sides, but they were watching. "The Arbiters," Elena whispered, then louder. "The Arbiters. They're the oldest species in the galaxy. Their quantum technology." She opened a channel to Kronos' ship. "Ambassador, you've watched for millennia as the younger races fought and feared each other. You stay neutral, claiming wisdom comes from observation. But true wisdom comes from action. Help us save them. Help us prove that the galaxy can be better than its fears." For a long moment, there was no response. Then, impossibly, the massive Arbiter vessel began to move. It took position alongside the horizon, and suddenly the quantum network blazed with new power. The Arbiters had joined them. "All ships, full power to the quantum network," Elena commanded. "Pour everything you've got into the stellar core stabilization. We do this together, or not at all." The star pulsed once, twice, and then the quantum readings began to stabilize. They hadn't stopped its death, but they'd slowed it enough to complete the evacuation. More than that, they'd shown the galaxy what was possible when species worked together instead of against each other. As the star's death throes temporarily subsided, Elena allowed herself a moment of hope. They still had to evacuate millions of Aetheri, still had to face down the combined fleets of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations, but they'd done the impossible once. They could do it again. Because that's what happened when humanity's determination met Aetheri wisdom, when the future refused to be bound by the fears of the past. 3 months after the Battle of the Dying Star, Commander Elena Chen stood once again before the Galactic Council. This time, she wasn't alone. Beside her stood Zyra, representing the newly awakened Aetheri, and Ambassador Cronus of the Arbiters. The chamber hummed with an energy that felt different from her last visit, less hostile, more uncertain. The Council has reviewed the events at the Aetheri star system. High Chancellor Vexthor began, his crystalline form subdued. We cannot ignore the implications of what transpired there. Nor should you, Elena replied. The successful evacuation of the Aetheri people wasn't just a rescue mission. It was proof that the galaxy's future depends on cooperation, not isolation. The holographic displays activated, showing footage from the evacuation's final days. The combined human-Aetheri fleet, supported by Arbiter technology, had managed to hold the stars stable long enough to save every stasis pod. Millions of quantum-preserved beings, an entire civilization, had been given a second chance. But the cost, Archon Zanera interjected, her energy form fluctuating. The quantum technologies unleashed, the merging of consciousness with machine, the violation of established hierarchies. Progress often comes at the cost of comfort. Zyra's voice resonated through both physical and quantum space. For 5,000 years, we slept while the galaxy convinced itself that technological advancement alone defined civilization. Humanity showed all of us, that true advancement comes from the courage to reach across boundaries. Ambassador Cronus moved forward, his ancient presence commanding attention. The Arbiters have watched galactic civilization for millions of years. We stayed neutral, believing wisdom came from observation. We were wrong. He gestured to Elena and Zyra. These younger races taught us that true wisdom comes from engagement, from the willingness to risk everything for what is right. The chamber erupted in discussion. Elena watched as representatives from various civilizations argued, but she noticed something different in their tone. The fear was giving way to curiosity, the hostility to cautious interest. The quantum state technologies developed during the evacuation. One council member noted, they could revolutionize space travel, communication, even our understanding of consciousness itself, which the Aetheri will share, Zyra declared. Along with humanity, we propose a new galactic institute of quantum consciousness, a place where all species can learn from each other, where different paths of development are celebrated, not feared. Elena stepped forward. Earth has already offered a home to the Aetheri people, not in isolation, but as part of our world. Their quantum consciousness expertise combined with human innovation has opened doors we never imagined possible. We invite all civilizations to join us in walking through those doors. The council chambers fell silent as the implications sank in. The galaxy's power structure, built on technological hierarchies and careful isolation, faced a fundamental change. The success of the Human-Aetheri Alliance had proved that diversity of development, the very thing the advanced civilizations had feared, was actually the key to unprecedented progress. High Chancellor Vexthor spoke again, his tone thoughtful. The Council will need time to consider these developments. But, he paused, his crystalline form shifting to a warmer hue. We cannot deny the evidence before us. The evacuation succeeded not despite the differences between humans and Aetheri, but because of them. We're not asking for the galaxy to change overnight, Elena said. We're asking for the chance to prove that cooperation beats competition, that diversity of thought and development makes us all stronger. As if to emphasize her point, the quantum network that now connected the chamber, a gift from the combined human-Aetheri arbiter technology, pulsed with possibilities. Through it, representatives could feel the edges of what the Aetheri had known for millennia. Consciousness itself was the next frontier, and it could only be explored together. The motion before the Council, Vexthor announced, is to recognize the Human-Aetheri Alliance as a full member of the galactic community, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. Furthermore, to establish the proposed Galactic Institute of Quantum Consciousness under their joint leadership. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. As Elena looked at her unlikely allies, Zyra, whose people had waited 5,000 years for this moment, and Cronus, who had finally chosen to act rather than observe, she felt the weight of what they'd achieved. They had not just saved a civilization. They had begun to transform one. Commander Chen, Zyra's consciousness brushed against her mind through their quantum link. My people have a saying. The greatest lights are those that shine not for themselves, but for others. Elena smiled. On Earth, we say something similar. A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. Above them, through the chamber's transparent dome, the stars seemed to shine brighter. Somewhere out there, a new world was being prepared for the Aetheri people, not as refugees, but as teachers, partners, friends. The galaxy's future would be written not by those who hoarded knowledge in fear, but by those who dared to share it in hope. Humanity had reached for the stars believing they would find wonders. Instead, they had become part of the wonder itself, proof that compassion, courage, and cooperation could light the way forward, even in the darkest of spaces.